Hey, welcome back to Right on the Edge. And Derek, another night, another day of ADD content. Trying to gather my thoughts there. But I would I wanted to watch this and see why DC hates and disrespects Static Shock. Because I've always wondered why this has never been rebooted. It's never been like mainstreamed. They had like cameos of this guy every once in a while, but they don't really do anything with it. And I really, really love Static Shock as a kid, and I rewatched it as an adult. I loved it then too, and I'm like, why don't they do anything with this? It's a good IP, so let's figure it out. We'll watch this, and then maybe we'll watch the interview or something. We'll see. We'll see how long this runs.
Won't you adopt me? I'm not gonna say it! Why won't you adopt me? Because you're black!
Well, it's
Damn.
about time.
Uh,
A whole video dedicated to my favorite DC chocolate covered brother, Static.
What?
Everybody's raving
this is
about Miles
this is like
Morales
my favorite
Spider-Man
shit
these
too.
days,
He's
thanks
mine.
to the popularity and success of the Spider-Verse movies and the Insomniac
Don't get me wrong. Spider Verse good. That shocks my guy. My guy.
Spider-Man games, which kind of all bloomed around the same time. But many years prior to the creation of Miles Morales, Static was pretty much the black teen superhero, effectively
He's dope as fuck though.
providing the representation that was needed in the superhero space, a character that the black nerd community could actually relate and look up to. The creatives over at Milestone Comics believed they needed to have a teenage superhero when they
Like people. Favorite cartoon. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I didn't read the comics. I read when I watched it. Yep. Good to see somebody who struggled with. I did. Um, for part of the so to see someone who was struggling with urban issues, I was, gang, drugs, and other stuff, refreshing compared to like the poster boy that is Superman. You know what I mean?
first launched the Milestone universe, as Dwayne McDuffie wanted to fill the void of having a prominent teen superhero with real-life problems, since Peter Parker
Yeah.
at the time had grown into a full-grown adult and was married to Mary Jane, crafting a character that was grounded in the social and cultural reality of the time. And after all this time of making videos on DC characters, my boy Virgil Hawkins finally gets his own dedicated entry.
Hey, that's some real good shit, my nigga, for real. Congratulations, nigga.
Many felt that
Come on, man. That's funny as shit though. But good job.
there was a lack of proper diversity in comics, where a lot of diverse characters in the superhero space never got their proper due and were sort of tossed to the side or riddled with stereotypes. Dwayne McDuffie, Dennis Cowan, Michael Davis, and Derek T.
Love these guys. Love these.
Dingle all teamed up to combat this by creating their own comic book company named Milestone Media. They created a space for black and underrepresented comic book creators to succeed in their own right, creating their own set of characters and continuity called the Dakotaverse, which all mostly took place in the fictional city of Dakota. This is where
I love all these comics. I grew up with them.
you would see the emergence of heroes like Static, Icon, Hardware, and Rocket. DC Comics agreed to a partnership with Milestone in 1993, where Milestone would still be independent and have full creative control over their characters and stories, while
That's the real problem. DC wants power.
DC would have publishing and distribution rights. The first 4 titles launched in this new initiative were the first issues of Hardware, Icon, Static, and Blood Syndicate. One of the key focuses of the work culture in Milestone was to give attention to talent from a range of ethnic and cultural backgrounds who had trouble making a name for themselves in the comic book industry. It wasn't just a space for hiring only black comic artists and writers. What made Milestone Comics stand out was their devotion to tackling issues not often seen in traditional American comics like racism and police brutality. After making comics for
Not just racism and brutality. It was like I said, it was urban issues. Like, believe it or not, a lot of issues that plague black community as a whole are the same issues that plague the for white community. Most of these things are class based and race.
about 4 years, Milestone Media unfortunately shut down its comic division in 1997 due to a major downturn in comic sales in the industry after the boom of comic sales in the early 90s, as well as some misconceptions of Milestone books being suited only for black readers despite being intended for a wider diverse.
I don't know a single white person that hasn't heard of Static Shock and loved the character. Specifically Static Shock. My fiance is Asian, loves him. Right? Like, crazy that they
Audience. The editor-in-chief of DC Comics, back when Milestone Media first came about, wanted to pitch cartoons about some of the Milestone characters. A bunch of Milestone projects were pitched over the years before
loved it. Static Shock was great, dude.
Static was ultimately
I'm not sure if how it compares to the comics, right? I didn't get to read all the comics a little bit before my time. But after seeing the art, I'll probably go and buy him.
chosen to get his own animated series. Dennis Cowan would end up working with the writers and producers of previous DCAU shows to develop Static Shock. Dwayne McDuffie would go on to write several episodes of the show as well. The Static Shock cartoon shared many similarities with the source material, though there were a few notable differences, such as Static's costume design and a change to Virgil Hawkins' backstory where his mother had died prior to the show's events, whereas in the comics she was still alive when he became Static. Additionally, Richie Foley would end up being Static's confidant in the show instead of Frida, who in the comics was Static's best friend who knew his secret identity. Static Shock was one of the first shows to have an African-American superhero as the lead. It's kind of crazy to think about how it's one of the only prominent cartoons or shows centering on a black superhero.
I never knew how important it would be to meet a role model like you. A black superhero. It validates me somehow. Sometimes I wish there was a black superhero back home for folks to look up to.
But there is, and he is my hero too.
Fortunately, the show was met with really positive reception. It was the highest rated show across all the networks for its particular time slot, aiming at kids from ages 2 to 11. The only show to outperform
Yeah, I was like 9. Thinking about it, yeah.
Static Shock consistently on Kids WB when it was airing its final season would be Pokemon, and the show would continue to do even better in ratings once it ran reruns on Cartoon Network. One of the things that made Static Shock stand out so much was the way it was able to incorporate the standard beats you'd see in a kids cartoon, while also not shying away from very serious topics that occurred in the real world, and was representative of what teens could be going through back then or really at any time period. You think back on the restrictions many children's cartoons faced on what they couldn't say or show. They literally couldn't call Slade Wilson Deathstroke in the Teen Titans cartoon due to censorship reasons. Meanwhile, Static's powers, like in the comics, are a result of gang violence, and you see one of his gangbanger friends give him a gun right before the Big Bang. Or how about the fact that
Does throw the gun.
Virgil's best friend's dad was a straight up racist.
And now I see why Richie acts like a hood, Maggie. That kid's a bad influence. All his kind are. If I gotta deal with them all day long. Now one of them's in my house.
My best friend's gone because of you and your stupid racism.
Hey!
One of the most famous episodes of the show was the 11th episode of the second season titled Jimmy, where a kid gets picked on throughout the episode and brings his dad's handgun to school to
This is one of the darkest episodes, but man, it's a real one.
confront his bully, but Virgil's best friend Richie Foley ends up getting caught in the crossfire and is shot in the process. Then at the end of the episode, Static delivers a PSA directly to the audience about the dangers and ramifications of gun violence, particularly for young teenagers and kids. The show actually won a Humanitas Award in the children's animation category because of this episode. I mean, hell, Static in the 9th episode of the 4th and final season taught kids about dyslexia and how those struggling with it can seek help and overcome their challenges.
Whoever said comics don't teach you anything?
Throughout its duration, Static Shock would additionally get nominated for a handful of daytime Emmy Awards. Damn, they really crafted a dread-headed superhero who was not only dripped out, funny, relatable, and taught kids about important life lessons. These levels of sauce were just simply not common.
The kid's got style.
Wasn't common because a lot of cartoons weren't allowed to. They had to follow the rules. So the fact that they're able to push the envelope, good. It was good, and this is why I related to it. This is why my friends related. Growing up in the hood together, deal with this type of violence every day, this type of situations every day.
Another cool thing about the Static Shock cartoon was its ties to the DC animated universe of shows. There would be a couple of references to certain characters in the first season, but the connective tissues really started to manifest in the beginning of the second season, where the Glorious King and Robin traveled to Dakota to track down the Joker and eventually team up with Static. This would be the gateway in allowing Static to have
But my favorite episode.
future team-ups with Batman and the rest of the Justice League once in a while. Static teamed up with Batman the most, having around 4 or so crossovers, including the Batman Beyond Future episode
Batman
and
Beyond,
the Justice League episode.
I love it when he met his yourself, Black Lightning. Oh man.
Batman's not gonna be happy when he hears how you've been treating his guests.
I'm Batman.
And I'm Beyonce.
You know this kid?
I'm Beyonce.
He says his name's Beyonce.
Really, nigga?
He would go on
Got him. He is from the future. Okay, he wouldn't maybe not know.
to have an episode teaming up with Superman and another with Jon Stewart's Green Lantern, both of whom, funnily enough, are voiced by Phil Lamar. The Teen Titans were confirmed to have
One of my favorite Green Lantern.
been established in the DCAU, even though we never see them. Alan Burnett wanted to set the stage for a Static and Titans crossover before the Teen Titans cartoon aired in 2003. The main concern was that the Static episode that mentions the Titans would air before the pilot of Teen Titans, and they decided to go with a Justice League crossover later on instead. To clarify, the Teen Titans cartoon is not in the same universe as Static Shock and the rest of the DCAU, but I guess that might have been the initial intent.
Where's
God, man, that would have been so sick. That was so fucking.
Robin?
With the Titans.
Who?
You'll meet him someday.
Despite all of the show's success, Static Shock would be cancelled after 4 seasons, primarily because of low merchandise sales. Due to the costs of Western animation at the time, the only way for a show to make profit was via revenue from toys, clothing, and other typical merchandise tied to a hit series. Static Shock was unable
And fuck you guys. There's so many ads during this show. If you're losing money, that's on you.
to grab the interest of a lot of toy companies and other merchandise distributors.
Well, if it's a cartoon, we got to get a toy. So they went to the toy company and brought the character designs and the premise and everything. And the
Pulp
toy
Fiction
company said,
fan, my boy.
Yeah, we don't really see a market for a character like that. But we all know exactly what they meant. That decision to not have merch was one of the reasons that after 4 seasons of being the top-rated show in...
There's no way there wouldn't be. There's no way they wouldn't. Bullshit. Now, mind you, I don't know if it was racism or not, but I believe he thinks so. Think so.
On that, Saturday, morning network, thing, Static Shock got
WB.
canceled because it wasn't making them no extra money.
No, you get your goddamn
Bullshit.
ass out of here!
And there it is, not even 5 seconds. The Americans are ruthless as usual. Racism is running amok out there. They definitely are going to have to find a better way to hold that racism in.
Goddamn.
It is getting blatant.
At San Diego Comic-Con 2008,
Wait.
it was formally announced that the Milestone universe would officially merge with the DC Comics universe, with a couple of characters appearing in Justice League of America and Static becoming an official member of the Teen Titans. Ripple effects of the merger would be seen in the Young Justice animated show, which included appearances of
Justice.
Static, Icon, and Rocket in the first couple of seasons. Rather than gaining his abilities via the Big Bang, which involved radioactive tear gas like in the comics or in the animated show, Virgil was a metahuman whose metagene was activated after he was abducted and experimented on by the Reach, who sought to trigger his latent abilities. Although there was missed potential with Static after the 2nd season, where in the 3rd season he just gets relegated to the one guy on the Outsiders team who can't get a girlfriend and doesn't do much of significance. Static Shock was among the 52 new comic titles that were a part of the
Loved it. I loved it. And I read the Static Shock one. So good.
New 52 initiative in 2011. This reboot had Virgil relocate from Dakota City to New York with his family and featured him interning at Star Labs. The series was canceled after only 8 issues, and the co-writer of the Static Shock title left after the first 4 issues due to his frustrations behind the scenes. Co-writer John Rosen went into detail on how he felt benched by the creative team when it came to implementing his ideas, constantly being lectured by writer Scott McDaniel on his writing methods being inconsistent incorrect, despite never having written anything previously. McDaniel never read a single Static comic prior to writing the New 52 series, nor did he watch a single episode of the cartoon show, yet he would still go out of his way to tell Rossum that what he wrote for Static's dialogue didn't fit well with the character. There was less of a focus on compelling character-driven.
I do wonder, obviously I'd still be pissed off about it, but I was wondering if this is one of the things where you should accept it to get your work out there and revise it later once you prove this asshole wrong. I'm not sure though, you know, I can understand it like both ways, but to me sometimes you take the punch, then you roll with it, and then later on you punch back.
Stories, and more emphasis on the book being more action-packed and having more eye-candy moments to keep the reader engaged. There's not a lot of time dedicated to fleshing out Static's supporting cast or implementing his better-known rogues gallery. Static's alter ego as Virgil Hawkins was put to the side as it wasn't deemed as important enough. For some reason, they included this plot of Virgil's sister being kidnapped and cloned before the start of the series, and now he has two sisters in the family. It's really bizarre and not fleshed out properly. Milestone Comics, however, was planning on making a comeback with
I do remember that being weird, but I think at the time I was younger, so I didn't think.
Reginald Hudlin and Dennis Cowan teaming up with DC to bring back Milestone and its characters in 2015. This was halted a couple of years later due to a lawsuit filed by Dwayne McDuffie's widow, as McDuffie passed away a few years prior to the announcement to revive Milestone. She claimed that his estate was not properly included in Milestone's revival. Milestone would officially return in Milestone Returns Issue 0 in 2020, which kicked off a new wave of Milestone titles on their flagship characters like Static, Icon, and Rocket.
Love the
And hardware. They wanted to go all in with the Milestone Media relaunch initiative in not only producing new titles on their characters, but also expand in other forms of media. During DC Fandom 2021, Reggie Hudlin and Dennis Cowan announced a direct-to-home video animated movie centered on the Milestone characters. In typical DC fashion, this never ended up happening, and we
I was thinking, I was like, how did I never hear about this? I'm gonna watch it tonight, and now it just never happened. That's god damn it, dude. It's so fucking tragic. Like, why can't fathom what CEOs and executives were thinking. Like, this show was so popular. So popular. Crazy how popular it was.
We've had no updates on the movie since its announcement. The biggest announcement was Michael B. Jordan producing a live-action Static Shock movie, which was supposed to set the stage for building a new cinematic universe centered on black superheroes. The movie had a writer attached, but it's unclear how far he got in the scriptwriting process. The movie was also very likely to be an HBO Max exclusive, as
who cares? I would have subbed for a month to watch this movie. I know a lot of people who would have subbed for a month to HBO Max or whatever to watch this.
The president of DC Films at the time, Walter Hamada, talked about how the more expensive DC movies were being made for theatrical release, while additional smaller budget movies would release on HBO Max, hinting at riskier characters like Static and Batgirl. The movie was never officially canceled, but there has been no word on its development since the writer was announced in March 2021. And with the change of leadership at Warner Brothers and the formation of DC,
or is it riskier, you know? What does that mean?
Studios, the project was likely abandoned. Not giving Static a blockbuster movie in modern times was definitely a missed opportunity in expanding Static's popularity and allowing him to become more mainstream.
Static Shock and characters like him good is that it's an original black superhero for one. Is unbelievably popular. And I'm like, people want black superheroes, you know? Like, not just like black community. Everybody wants this because they want people to stop retconning like fucking superheroes of other races and turning them black. Like, why do that? You know? It's not like a handoff like Green Lantern, you know, Green Lantern's handoff. That's fine, whatever. But, you know, and the story was good and that character's a well-written character, so it became it became great. But so many times they just try to rework him like an existing hero And I'm like, that's not what people want, their own fucking thing.
It could have introduced the character to a new generation of fans, giving black kids today the kind of representation they experienced in the early 2000s with the original cartoon. It's kind of crazy that Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle got his own movie before Static. That's not a knock on Jaime as Blue Beetle. I like the character, but Static was definitely more popular and recognizable due to the
Forgot Blue Beetle exists. I forget it exists a lot. I never forget Static Shock.
success of the cartoon. On the comic front, Static would make a big splash with a...
But end it right there, dude. I mean, if you're watching this, give M Enterprises here like and subscribe. Watch this video. Watch other videos by him. About the Batman family. You know, give this guy some love. I think you're right in a lot of your takes, brother. Tagline here, but dude, I didn't realize how many issues there were behind the screen. I mean, I never looked into it though. I never looked into it. Well, if you like comic books like me, Static Shock, comment below. Tell me who your favorite superhero is. Like, you know, subscribe, do all that stuff. Bye bye.